Have you ever noticed how evenings have their own kind of gravity? The day is winding down, your willpower is running on fumes, and suddenly your hand is reaching for the refrigerator door almost on autopilot. You're not starving. You probably had dinner, but there's this quiet pull, almost like a whisper that says, just a little snack, just one more bite. And before you know it, the evening ends not with rest, but with overeating, a heavy stomach, and that familiar self-talk. Why did I do this again? If that resonates with you, you're not alone. This is one of the most universal struggles of modern life, and the surprising thing is, it has less to do with real hunger and more to do with how your brain interprets signals at the end of the day. The good news? There's a ridiculously simple way to intercept that urge. And it doesn't involve willpower, complicated diets, or swearing off your favorite foods. It involves one glass. That's it. One glass with the right contents at the right moment. And this tiny shift flips the script on your evening eating patterns. Today I want to show you how this works and why it's far more powerful than it looks. First, let's talk about what's really happening in those evening hours. By the time the day ends, your body is in a different state than it was in the morning. Your energy is lower, your decision-making centers are tired, and your brain's reward circuitry is craving something, anything, to give you a hit of comfort. This is why evening eating feels so irresistible. It's not about fuel. It's about self-soothing. But here's where it gets interesting. That I'm hungry signal isn't always hunger. Often it's a misfire, a signal of thirst, fatigue, or simply habit dressed up as hunger. Your brain is looking for relief, and food is the most available shortcut. What if you could intercept that misfire with something so quick and simple that your brain says, okay, we're satisfied, without piling on extra calories? That's where the one glass trick comes in. I want you to think of this as a framework. Pause, fill, reset. Step 1 is pause. The next time you feel that pull toward the kitchen, don't try to fight it with force. Fighting urges head-on usually backfires because the brain doesn't like being told no. Instead, give it a gentle redirection. Tell yourself, before I eat, I'll take one glass. This isn't about saying never, it's about creating a micro delay. That pause is enough to break the autopilot pattern. Step 2 is fill, and this is the secret. What goes in the glass matters. We'll get into the exact options shortly, but the key is choosing something that engages your stomach and hydration sensors. Because the moment your stomach expands even a little, stretch receptors send signals to your brain. We're full, we can relax. Combine that with hydration, and suddenly the hunger signal loses its grip. Step 3 is reset. Once you've had that glass, you give your brain a few minutes to recalibrate. And this is where the magic happens. In most cases, the urge either disappears entirely or shrinks to a manageable level. You've gone from reactive eating to intentional choice. But why does this work so reliably? Let's pull back the curtain. Your stomach has something called stretch receptors, little pressure sensors that send satiety signals to the brain. They don't distinguish much between a plate of food and a glass of water with some fiber or protein. To your brain, fullness is fullness. That's why this works. It's not about denying yourself. It's about giving your body the signal it was really looking for in the first place. And here's another fascinating detail. Late at night, your body is often mildly dehydrated even if you don't feel it. Dehydration mimics hunger because the same regions of the brain light up. So what feels like a craving for chips or ice cream is often just your body begging for fluids. One glass solves both problems. It expands the stomach and it rehydrates the system. It's like flipping off a false alarm. Now, let's talk specifics, because I want this to be something you can apply immediately. Think of 3 categories of glass fillers. The first is plain water. Yes, as boring as it sounds, it's often enough. But if you want to supercharge the effect, you can upgrade it slightly. Add a squeeze of lemon, which adds a refreshing signal and a small sensory kick. Or add a tablespoon of chia seeds. These expand in water, creating a gentle feeling of fullness that lasts. The second category is low-calorie hydration with a twist. Sparkling water, herbal tea, or warm water with a slice of ginger. These not only engage the stomach but also engage your senses. The warmth of tea, the fizz of sparkling water. They give the brain a sense of ritual, which is crucial in the evenings when what you're often craving is not just food, but comfort. The third category is protein-based liquids. A small glass of milk, kefir, or a light protein shake. These not only trigger satiety, but also stabilize blood sugar, which is another hidden driver of evening cravings. Pick whichever fits your lifestyle, but remember, the action matters more than the exact liquid. The key is training your brain to associate urge to eat with glass first. And here's where this turns into something more powerful than just a hack. When you use this consistently, you're not just managing cravings, you're retraining your brain. Each time you redirect the impulse, you're teaching your nervous system a new association. Evening comfort equals glass, not fridge raid. Over time, this rewires the pattern. Instead of seeing evenings as a danger zone for overeating, your brain starts to expect this simple ritual as the default. That's how habits shift, not through struggle but through substitution. You're not removing comfort, you're swapping the source. And the ripple effects are huge. Because once you prove to yourself that you can intercept evening eating with one small action, you unlock a bigger realization. I'm not powerless against my habits. I can create space, I can choose. Think about how freeing that is. Instead of waking up frustrated with yourself, you wake up lighter, not just physically but mentally. You go to bed with a sense of control, and that carries into the next day. And here's the best part. This one action doesn't just reduce overeating, it also improves sleep quality. Heavy late-night eating disrupts your digestion and sleep cycles. By replacing it with a light hydration ritual, your body enters rest mode more smoothly. You fall asleep easier and your energy the next day is higher. So you're not just cutting calories, you're stacking benefits. Better evenings, better mornings, and a calmer relationship with food. I want to pause here and ask you, what would it feel like if evenings stopped being a battle? If instead of negotiating with yourself over snacks, you had a simple, calming ritual that worked every time? This isn't about perfection. It's not about never eating dessert again. It's about reclaiming choice in the moments where you usually feel hijacked. That's what the one glass method offers. It's not a diet, it's not a restriction, it's a reset. And because it's so small and simple, your brain doesn't resist it. There's no friction, no excuses. Just one glass, 1 minute, and a completely different outcome. And here's a mental image to lock this in. Picture your evening urge as a loud, buzzing alarm. It feels urgent, insistent, like you have to answer it now. The glass is your hand on the snooze button, not to ignore the alarm, but to quiet it long enough for clarity to return. And once the noise fades, you can actually decide, do I want food right now, or was it just the signal misfiring? That choice, that pause, is everything. Because when you're in control of that moment, you're in control of the evening. And when you're in control of the evening, you're in control of your health in the long run. This is the essence of behavior design. One small lever that shifts the whole system. So let's anchor this framework before we move forward. Remember, pause, fill, reset. Pause. Catch the urge before autopilot takes over. Fill. One glass with the right content. Reset. Give your brain a minute to recalibrate. 3 steps, 1 ritual, endless evenings reclaimed. This is how you stop overeating at night. Not with force, not with guilt, but with simplicity. And the more you practice, the more automatic it becomes. Here's the deeper layer that makes this one glass method more than just a trick. It becomes a reframe of your identity. Most people approach eating at night with guilt. They say, I need more discipline. I need to just stop. But that only sets up a tug of war between you and your cravings. And as you know, cravings usually win. What changes everything is when you stop seeing this as a battle and start seeing it as a signal. That moment when your hand reaches for the fridge. That's not a weakness, it's a cue. It's your body saying, I need comfort. I need regulation. And the glass becomes your tool to meet that need in a healthier way. The shift here is profound, from fighting yourself to working with yourself. Think about it like this. Every evening, craving is an intersection with 2 paths. One path is the old routine. Open fridge, snack mindlessly, go to bed heavy. The other is the upgraded routine. Pause, fill the glass, let your brain reset and reclaim choice. The fork in the road lasts only seconds, but the outcomes ripple through your whole life. And what's so powerful is that the glass is not restrictive. You're not saying no to yourself. You're saying yes, but smarter. You're giving your body what it actually needed in the first place. Hydration, expansion, and a moment of recalibration. That's why this works long-term, because your brain feels rewarded, not deprived. Now let's go one layer deeper into the psychology. At night, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control, is tired. But your limbic system, the part that drives cravings, is still active. That mismatch is why evenings feel like a danger zone. You can't rely on raw willpower because the mental muscle is fatigued. What you need is a shortcut that bypasses willpower altogether. The glass is that shortcut. It doesn't ask you to argue with yourself. It simply changes your state in under a minute. Once your physiology shifts, the craving loses its bite. This is what behavioral scientists call a state change intervention. Instead of trying to think your way out of a craving, You shift your body and the mind follows. That's why the one glass reset feels almost effortless. It works with the grain of your biology, not against it. And here's something even more fascinating. Every time you successfully use this ritual, you're not just preventing overeating in the moment. You're conditioning your brain to trust you. Think about that. So many of us walk around with the story, "I can't control myself at night." Every time you follow the pause, fill, reset framework, you weaken that story and replace it with a new one. "I can intercept my cravings. I can shift my state." That identity shift is worth more than any diet, because once you see yourself as capable of change, the game changes. You're no longer the victim of your habits, you're the architect of them. So let's make this practical. How do you actually install this into your evenings so it sticks? There are 3 anchoring strategies that make it almost automatic. The first is visual cues. Put a glass in a visible spot near the fridge or on your counter. Every time you see it, it reminds you of the new path. The second is environmental design. Stock your kitchen with the fillers you'll use: lemon, chia seeds, herbal tea bags, sparkling water. Make the new choice easier than the old one. The third is reflection. After you do the ritual, take 10 seconds to notice how you feel. The lighter stomach, the calmer mind, the sense of control, that's your reward. Savor it. Because the more you consciously link the action to the reward, the faster your brain will crave the new habit instead of the old one. Let's zoom out for a moment. Why does this matter so much? Because overeating at night isn't just about calories. It's about self-trust. It's about ending the day with alignment instead of regret. It's about waking up lighter, not just in body, but in mind. When you use the one glass ritual, you're not just cutting down on late-night snacks. You're proving to yourself that you can create space between urge and action. That space is freedom. That space is where all positive change begins. And once you know how to create it in the evening, you'll start to notice it elsewhere. You'll pause before checking your phone mindlessly. You'll pause before snapping back in an argument. You'll pause before procrastinating on a task. The skill you build here ripples into every part of your life. One glass in the evening becomes a blueprint for self-mastery. And I want you to imagine this for yourself. It's 10 p.m. and the old urge hits. You stand up, you feel the pull toward the fridge. But instead of grabbing food, you fill a glass with water and lemon, take slow sips, and let your stomach expand. You sit back down and the craving melts. You smile because you just changed the script. You feel lighter, calmer, more in control. And then you go to bed not with regret but with pride. Multiply that by weeks, months, years, and you see the compound effect. Fewer unnecessary calories, better sleep, more energy, and most importantly, a stronger sense of agency over your own life. That's what this one glass ritual gives you. Not just a hack, but a new identity. So here's my invitation to you. Tonight, test it. Don't wait for the perfect setup. Don't overthink it. The next time your hand moves toward the fridge, give yourself the pause, fill, reset experiment. One glass, 1 minute. Notice the shift. Notice how your body responds, how your urge fades, how your control returns. This is not about restriction, it's about liberation. It's about remembering that energy and clarity don't come from fighting yourself, but from aligning with how your biology actually works. And once you feel the difference, you'll never go back to the old story. You'll know that you have the key. The glass isn't just filled with water or tea. It's filled with choice, with agency, with proof that you can change. And that, more than anything, is the upgrade you've been looking for.